Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is making waves and drawing attacks from, today, the Murdoch-owned tabloid, The New York Post, which expended great effort suggesting something somehow nefarious about AOC choosing a rental in D.C. in a luxe building with gold-plated amenities, a rooftop infinity pool, cycling studio, saunas, and even a golf simulation lounge. The article raising the notion that AOC might not even reside in the Bronx district she represents anymore, which she disputes today, adding that she relocated to a new apartment in the Bronx. Now, the fixation on a freshman's residential choices shows the conservative energy vilifying a new woman in power. Critics noting that conservatives seem to be testing out the same kind of personal insult strategies deployed against Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi.
What you have in Ocasio-Cortez are Latin American values. Instead of us assimilating them, they are assimilating us.
The little girl who wants to do pre-Reagan economics.
Bug-eyed Cortez.
Oscario or Ocasio.
I like Oscario.
Sandy Cortez doesn't have any mental capacity to actually reason.
This 29-year-old congresswoman doesn't seem to know much about anything.
Stalin, Hitler, Mao Zedong all came to power promising the same kinds of things that Miss Ocasio-Cortez is promising.
She is approaching, in her own mind, goddess-like status.
If we dismiss Ocasio-Cortez and socialism right now, it's at our own peril.
We should note not all the attacks are as personal. Fox also criticizing her use of government funds to pay her aides a living wage, $52K a year, calling that communism on display. But either way, AOC argues these attacks actually are proving her relevance. She was explaining this in a new Showtime interview with fellow Bronx residents Desus and Mero.
In a weird way, that stuff is validation that you're doing something real, right? Because if you're just flying under the radar, you're just trying to, get your check, like not rock the boat, then what's the point of being in politics? Like, what is the point of doing things if you're just trying to maintain a status quo that doesn't help people?
I'm joined by Mara Gay from the New York Times. She's really got them going.
She does. She is, yeah. So many of the attacks on the Congresswoman I find to be completely out of right field, just sexist, racist, outrageous, inappropriate. What the New York Post story did today is something different that we would call accountability journalism. And it does matter that you do live in the district that you represent. And honestly, it seems like this is kind of a lot of nothing, and she does live in the district. My actual point of concern is that the Congresswoman has yet to address these claims appropriately, I believe, to members of the press, particularly the Post. So she actually tweeted earlier today saying, I do live in the district. In fact, I just Instagrammed a post last night from my new apartment. Yeah, this is her tweet. I'm not going to disclose the personal address or tell people when I move. Sorry. That's right. Now, of course, no one expects her to tweet out her address. Right. But there is traditionally a very important relationship between members of the media, including the Post, and elected officials. And that's something that they could have kind of dealt with privately, and she could have at least just responded to a press inquiry. So, you make an interesting point that notwithstanding calling out a bunch of what we showed and what's wrong with those type of attacks, she, and this is becoming more common in our internet politics, is seizing on this as another fight and not, you're saying, in your view, doing enough to deal with the serious part of engaging the press about, yes, a public official's residence is an issue because they have to live in the district, etc. That's right. And let's remember that the Congresswoman actually ran her campaign in part based on the idea that former Congressman Joe Crowley didn't really live in his district in all practicality and really hadn't spent enough time there. So this is a relevant question. Right. And, yes, the Post is conservative and they may not always be fair to her, but it's a fair question. And it's one I believe that she should respond to in kind and not just ignore press inquiries and then tweet at will on, about your comment. This is actually not the first time she's done this. Does that remind you of someone? It reminds me of two people. One would be Donald Trump, and the other would be Mayor Bill de Blasio. Well, look at you spitting hot fire. The headline here: New York Times reporter backing up the New York Post for accountability journalism, as you put it. That's very interesting. We also wanted to play, in addition to what we consider sort of the baseless attacks, which is keeping an eye on the politics, there are a lot of Democrats who've served their time who've in various ways questioned her opening salvos. Take a look.
There's nothing there.
It's an idea.
It's an idea.
And there's no meat on the bone.
Does it say something that she has them so shook, so scared about the deal?
It's not really her, with all due respect.
No.
I'm a co-sponsor.
Someone in your seat immediately get sort of this much attention, and is it overdone?
Well, I think part of it is because she beat me. I was important enough that people actually took note of someone beating me.
I think they're a little jealous, to be honest. Listen, the Congresswoman is very smart. She has a lot of ideas, and she was duly elected, and she has every right to take the party as far left as she sees fit. That's what her constituents elected her to do.
I think it's revealing to hear you say several things that are not easily caricatured, because there is nuance here, but that's why we have you here, Margay. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.